Mellow greetings, everybody. My name is James. I am from the internet, and today we are going to be talking about work versus labor. Now, for a lot of you out there, the words work and labor are synonymous. They literally mean the same exact thing. You could just interchange them in a sentence in your life, and there would be no discernible difference. But they are two different words, and well, maybe you've just never taken a moment to wonder why those are two different words and if they have two different meanings. So, since we're having this conversation, allow this to be that moment when you wonder, and I'll briefly explain to you that labor is when you expend effort and energy on a particular task, while work is when you labor under the auspices of an employment contract, i.e., your labor is being sold to somebody else so that they can benefit from it. Now, of course, labor's been around for as long as there have been people. People have always labored. They've labored to find water. They've labored to find food. They've labored to build structures and have some kind of cover and protection from the elements. Literally, labor is as old as humanity. While work is a legal, codified, binding contract between somebody who sells their work and an employer, has only been around since the advent and the codification of capitalism some 6 or so centuries ago. So you see, labor had quite a head start on work. However, work and the people who employ people, they have all the money. So they have been rapidly making ground in the marketing department, convincing all of you that work is what you need to do, rather than labor, because, you can labor for yourself, and if you labored for yourself, you wouldn't need to sell your labor, i.e. work, and then there would be nobody to make money for all the capitalists, and we can't have that now, can we? So, what I would like to do today is show you a growing trend in the labor force, as more people have come to realize that labor and work are indeed two different things, and since work is such a dead end, they might as well just go back to laboring for themselves. All right, here we go! Inside the rise of Antiwork, a workers' strike that wants to turn the labor shortage into a new American dream. Well, shit, that's my dream too. Imagine so many people being able to withhold their labor, that there is such a labor shortage that A, businesses who don't want to pay people go under, and B, the businesses that stay afloat pay people a lot more money to labor. Larry had a vision after he graduated college. He and his then wife were going to, quote, be a power couple. They were going to actualize their American dream. They'd buy a house in the suburbs and go on vacation every 2 years. That vision of the perfect life eventually was shattered. His then wife saw through the illusion of work, he said, and quit to take care of their children and her elderly father. It took him a little longer to get there. Quote, it's something that somebody else planted in our minds. Now, our friend Larry here has stumbled upon a very important piece of the puzzle. The idea of working and selling your labor to work for somebody else and working as much as you can, as hard as you can, as many hours as you can, that's not your idea. You didn't come up with that shit. Generations of people being told that they have to sell their labor and then passing that idea on to their children has made this a damn near codified part of the American experience. People are literally raised to be grinding all the time. What's that? You're 7 years old? Oh, well, you know what you should do? You should start walking up and down the block and seeing if old ladies will give you $10 to shovel off their front stoop. That's right. It's never too early to get that great work ethic, right? Now, Larry, 52, doesn't work. By the time the pandemic hit, he was ready for a change. He left his job as a maintenance technician in South Carolina to be with his ex-wife and children in Colorado. When he got laid off from a seasonal job there, he moved back to South Carolina to be with his mother. Now he lives simply in a 20-foot trailer in her backyard. Quote, "I really don't have any expenses. I don't need any money. I can survive without the money." Now, I know that many of us don't have the option of just living in a trailer on one of our relatives' properties. However, this is becoming a growing trend of people just tapping out and going to live in a basement or a backyard or on a couch of a family member or a friend. Why? Well, let me get to that. Larry is part of something that's growing. People who are opting out of working. Some of them call it anti-work. It's a trend bolstered by younger workers as Gen Zers make their mark on the labor market. In America, it looks similar to youth-led movements against work in other countries, like China, where young people are, quote, lying flat by decentering a drive to constantly be more productive and competitive at work, instead finding happiness in their own lives and in relaxation. Quote, "I don't really want to work anymore," Larry said. He added, "I don't want to have any meetings, no deadlines, no goals, no quarter, no seminar. I don't want none of that stuff no more." Larry, I applaud your decision, sir, because at the end of the day, selling your labor to somebody else is a choice, and people can choose to not do it. A rising disillusion with the state of work has spawned millions of Larrys over the last year. People have been quitting their jobs at record rates for 6 months in a row now, and many aren't going back. That's because for some, work doesn't seem to be worth it anymore. Wages have been on the decline for decades while student debt rises. The number of people with low-wage jobs has grown since the Great Recession as salaries that support a middle-class life have cratered. And this is an overarching theme and gets back to many of the videos I have recorded that you have watched over the last few months. People are coming to the realization that no matter how hard they work, no matter how much of their labor they sell, no matter how many jobs they have, they will not be able to accrue enough money to move up the social ladder, to have a better quality of life. Quote, "A lot of people mistake anti-work for being lazy, and like nothing has to ever get done. But the truth of the matter about anti-work and everything surrounding it is that obviously things have to get done, but the current structure in which things get done and the way the capital flows as they get done is unfair and should be non-existent." Again, people realizing that the game is so rigged that they'll never get ahead, that literally the only reason they exist is to provide other people with their labor so that those people can profit while you still have the same shitty low quality of life. And if a low quality of life is the best you can have, then why fucking bother? Cade, a Gen Z worker in Kansas, is one of many people who turned to the Antiwork subreddit and posted after he quit his job as a service worker. He'd been considering quitting for a while, but he was pushed over the edge after his boss posted a sign telling workers that they couldn't use their phones during shift, and if they were caught with their phones, management could confiscate them. That's right, everybody. We've now reached the shittiest part of this horrible timeline. You know, the part where you're forced to sell your labor to somebody for pennies on the dollar, and then, as if that's not bad enough, they can just slap signs on the wall anytime they want, explaining why they can take your personal property from you because they are your employer. Oh. Caitlin Nicholson is another Gen Zer who quit her job in fast food. Quote, "I realize that it's happening everywhere. Companies are saying, hey, there's a labor shortage, but they're not hiring people and they're just overworking their current employees. I think that it's good to know that you don't have to take that." According to Nicholson, she told her boss she couldn't work on a certain day because she needed to bring her car in for repairs. Her boss said that if she didn't show up, she'd be fired. So Caitlin didn't show up. Now, apparently, Caitlin spends her time at home, woodworking, building furniture by hand. Focusing on woodworking has been fulfilling, she said. Quote, "People used to actually build their own stuff and do a lot of stuff at home. I think that stuff isn't really appreciated as much anymore as it should be." Well, no, of course it isn't appreciated because A, everybody sells their labor to mass manufacturing, and B, everybody has 3 jobs. They don't have time to appreciate shit. They only have time to sell their labor, hastily gobble down a meal, maybe spend 15 minutes with their family, and then catch a few hours of sleep before going to their other job. You know, a totally separate place where they also sell their labor when they're not busy selling their labor to the first job they have, because that's what work is. Some employers seem shocked by the shortages and by workers turning the table and ghosting them. Recently, a barbecue restaurant in Florida shuttered after only being able to retain 4 employees. Quote, "Damn you, pandemic and the political machine, for making it more appealing to not work than to be an active part of the workforce in our country," the owner wrote in a Facebook post, referring to the enhanced unemployment benefits that Congress approved during the crisis. Research has consistently shown that the extra $300 or $600 per week from the unemployment insurance has had little impact on employment. And for the record, the same assholes who post on Facebook that nobody wants to work for them because they're lazy and they get free money are the same assholes who post up signs in their stores telling employees that they're going to take their cell phones if they see them using them. Hey, guess what, asshole? If you pay people a good living wage and you don't treat them like subservient crap, maybe, just maybe, they would be more enticed to want to sell their labor to you. But as it is now, the majority of people who are looking at taking a shit job with shit wages can't be bothered because they know in addition to the shit wages, they have to deal with shit people who have shit attitudes, who don't treat their workers well. Like you, barbecue dude. Either way, workers say that employers should take heed. Former workers predict that come December, there could be a massive shift as the pandemic, supply chain issues, and unruly customers come to a head. Quote, "It's going to be about a workforce that is finally going to be like, we have had enough." And Cade, the former worker who recently quit, said that if people keep quitting at this rate, employers just aren't going to have people to run their businesses, and they're going to go bankrupt or have to shut down or change their ways. For now, though, Larry has found some liberation. Quote, "When you get to this stage in your life where you're not working anymore and you really don't care about some things, it's freedom. It really is freedom." So what does this mean for you, the average viewer at home, the fellow member of the working class? Well, number one, it means that this story is not over yet. That contrary to popular belief and cherry-pick labor statistic numbers that the government puts out to news agencies, who then blast it all across primetime news, the labor shortage in the United States of America is not getting any better. Every time somebody takes a job, somebody else quits a job. And every single month, more and more people retire and never come back to the workforce. At this point, the idea of working and selling one's labor is now an individual choice that millions of people are making every day. They're looking around at their quality of life, they're looking at how much they can make, they're doing the math in their head, and they realize that grinding 2 jobs full-time for 40 straight years just so they can have a roof over their head and some slightly better food isn't worth the amount of time and effort they save if they just give up. This is what end-stage capitalism looks like. This nihilism that is coming from the working class, it exists because they have been utterly and completely drained of resources, including money, time, and effort. For centuries, the capitalist class has continued to tighten the thumb screws and extract everything they can from the workers. And now workers have gotten to the point where they realize there is no tomorrow, so why should I give a shit? Now, this is not to say there is only despair and doom out there, but rather this is hope. This is the hope that the system has now become so onerous, it has become so congested and clogged by itself that people are unwilling to push forward and make the machine work anymore. This is now a game of chicken between the people who have everything and the people who have nothing. And the problem with pushing people to the point where they have nothing left to lose, well, frankly, it's that those people now have nothing left to lose. The ball is in your court, capitalists. What are you gonna do? Until next time, my name is James. I am from the internet, and I am out. Peace.